Welcome to another exciting build. This week, we've teamed up with Lincoln Electric and Harris Torches to bring to you King's Deadly Spear Chastiefol.
To make the bladed portion of the spear, I choose a steel called H13. It is air hardening and its tempering temperatures are fairly high, which will assist me later on down the line because I want to try some brazing. The next key stage in forming the spear is punching the hole. For that, I will use the bottom donut and a series of punches and drifts, which reminds me of a joke by Slavoj Žižek. So, two Slovenian farmers find a genie lamp in their backyard, and one of them rubs it. The genie comes out and says, "Whatever I do to you, I will do double to your neighbor. If you want $1 million, I'll give $2 million to your neighbor and $1 million to you. If you want a hotter wife, I will give you a hot wife and 2 hot wives to your neighbor." Slovenian farmer scratches his head and says, "Screw it, pluck my eye out." One of the key downsides to H13 is that it's incredibly abrasion resistant and it tends to clog up the belt during grinding. So I hope Matt will have a very nice time introducing that really crisp hollow grind.
While I continue to grind away on the blade, Ilya's going to begin forging out the butt spike of our spear. Once again, he'll be punching a hole to create a donut-like shape, and then drawing out the end to create the spike. With the end spike now forged, this gives me a nice opportunity to take a break from all the blade grinding and start getting the end spike to shape. Although the donut portion is going to be covered with leather at the end, I still have to make it nice and round, eliminating some of the fat spots and just rounding all the material over in general. H13 being almost impossible to drill, we now have to heat the entire spear back up and begin punching the holes on either side of the wings. With the perimeters of our blade now basically roughed in, it's time to move on to doing the actual blade bevel grinding. I'm using a 36 grit belt from Red Label Abrasives. I'm going to start by using my 14-inch contact wheel on my Broadbeck Ironworks grinder to start doing a hollow grind to establish my bevels. While grinding and looking at the images, I noticed we need a few more holes. Well, it gives us a good opportunity to break out the old Harris torch.
Get over here. I've been telling people for years that hot punching your steel is much more efficient than using a drill press. The reason is, in most cases you're working with a material that is already hot. If you want to use a drill press, you have to wait for the material to cool down. You might even have to heat cycle it and then you use the drill press, which takes a lot of time. But if you use a punch like this, you don't have to stop forging and do it like a blacksmith. You just heat up your material and punch 2/3 of the way through, flip it over, look for the button, and punch it out. And that's how blacksmiths do it.
Treat our H13 blade, we're going to be placing it in the Even Heat Kiln and let it slowly heat up to 1450 degrees. Once it's achieved that temperature and held there for 20 minutes, we will remove the spear, go directly to the propane forge, and rapidly heat it up to 1650 degrees. We then can remove it from the forge, clamp it in a device to keep it nice and straight, and let it slowly air cool to its full hardness. So most of the pieces on our spear are made out of brass. However, sometimes you just can't beat steel pieces. You can weld it, and that's a lot tougher than brass. So we're gonna use our good old Harris torch and coat the surfaces of our steel pieces with brass.
To attach the two big brass rings to the spear itself, I'm using a technique called brazing. For that, I clamp them to the spear and heat up both the brass as well as the steel to a dull glowing red. Then I take a low-fuming bronze rod, dip it in flux, and slowly start building up that molten bronze around the seam, creating an equivalent of a metal glue that firmly seals the pieces shut.
With all of our parts forged and now ground to shape, it's time to start putting our spear together.
At first glance, this build seemed to be rather simple. However, it turned out to be a ton of work. Everything from the forging to the massive amount of grinding. But hey, we did get to try a lot of new techniques using our new tools from Lincoln Electric and Harris. We hope you guys enjoyed this build. Can't wait to the next one. Thanks for watching this Chastiefol spear build. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and as always, tell us in the comments below what build you want to see this team build next. And don't forget to subscribe. to That Works if you want to see Matt and Ilya build epic weapons.